Good evening. For Telestar, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. Thanks for joining us this evening. We begin with breaking news in the United States. A state of emergency has been declared in Baltimore, Maryland, and the National Guard has been activated following protests over the death of Freddie Gray in police custody. Now, people looted stores, set fires, and hurled rocks and bricks at Baltimore police just following the funeral of Freddie Gray. As you see there, many were gang members who have taken over some of the protest. But concurrently, peaceful protesters demanded justice for the young man who died while in police custody. Many have joined together of all races with a united voice seeking answers for the death of someone they say was a positive influence on the community. Protesters demand that police brutality come to an end.
We may not agree on everything, but guess what? You don't have to agree on everything to work together on something. And here's the something we agree with. Police brutality in Baltimore must stop today. We agree. You might call God by different names. You may not pray at all. You may be from the east side or west side, up the hill or down the hill. But we agree today, no matter your age, no matter where you're from, we agree in this moment that we need to, as a community, police the police because they cannot police themselves.
We want a transparent investigation. We want a quick investigation. I think the longer that they drag this investigation out, the people are going to be more inclined to think that they're going to cover this up again, like they've been doing a lot of other homicides or police-related homicides of black unarmed men and black unarmed women in this country.
And thousands paid their respects at the funeral of 25-year-old Freddie Gray. It was understandably an emotional day for all in attendance as friends, family, and strangers came together to say goodbye. The death of the young man has been the catalyst of a wave of recent protests, once again challenging a seemingly racially motivated and excessive use of force by U.S. police officers. And meanwhile, Baltimore Police Commissioner Anthony Batts says investigators are analyzing surveillance video that could provide more clues about Gray's death. Now, the commissioner also admits that the police violated its own protocol during Gray's arrest.
We know he was not buckled in the transportation wagon as he should have been. No excuses for that, period. We know our police employees failed to get him medical attention in a timely manner multiple times.
We go to Nepal now, where thousands of people continue to flee Kathmandu amid a continuous stream of tremors that have rattled the Nepalese capital. It comes after Saturday's deadly earthquake, of course. On most major roads leaving Kathmandu, there was a rush of people wanting to just get out of the city. The capital is still being rocked by several aftershocks from the 7.9 magnitude earthquake that wreaked havoc on the tiny Himalayan nation. Buses and trucks leaving the city were overloaded, as you see there, with anxious passengers desperate to leave the city. And rumors of another major earthquake or an outbreak of a disease have also kept people on edge.
This is all of because of earthquake. We are going to our home.
But why are you leaving this place?
We don't feel safe, so.
With the kind of atmosphere prevailing here, everyone is worried and feeling rather low. People are wondering how will they reach their homes safe. That is why everyone is standing here and trying to go to their respective homes safely.
Surveillance footage across Nepal shows the exact moment that shaking began, and people, as they tried to escape the deadly tremors, families, the sick and elderly packed into parks and other open spaces in Kathmandu after losing their houses, and some are still too terrified of aftershocks to return home. Many say they were desperate for aid and information on exactly what to do next. And people remain huddled in tents there wherever there's available space. Now, international rescue teams and relief supplies have begun arriving in Nepal's devastated capital to help those survivors. Rescue teams are also equipped with heavy cutting gear and accompanied by sniffer dogs to find anyone trapped. According to reports, the death toll there has now topped 4,000. Around 90 people have also been killed in neighboring countries, including at least 67 in India and 20 in China. We'll go to Latin America now. In Argentina, in primary elections in Buenos Aires, Mayor Mauricio Marci's pro-business party will take nearly half the votes after 8 years in office. In the Buenos Aires primary, the two candidates of his opposition pro-party together took nearly 48% of the vote. First official results showing. Those results include 2/3 of polling stations. Now, there was a slight rise in votes for smaller leftist parties.
I was surprised that the last two leftist parties have come into view. There is a noticeable change in the young vote, of which I am a part, and this is something very good.
Chilean President Michelle Bachelet has signed a bill into law that will make major changes to the Chilean electoral system. Now, the new system aims to better represent voters' wishes and ensure more women participate in politics. The law overturns an electoral system introduced by dictator Augusto Pinochet. The law effectively excluded parties that did not belong to one of the two leading coalitions and prevented either coalition from winning a significant majority in Congress. Thousands of state school teachers from all around Colombia took to the streets of Bogota on the 6th day of a strike to demand better salaries. The government has rejected the demands of the teachers while pushing to continue talks on ways to improve the education system. Teachers' demands include better salaries, adequate health care, and the elimination of examinations used to evaluate teachers. They say the exams limit their chances of getting promoted. Reforms to Ecuador's civil code recognizing same-sex unions as a civil status are sparking debate there. We turn to our correspondent Liz Sherpius, who brings us more on these developments from Quito.
Reforms to the Civil Code have been passed by Ecuador's National Assembly, raising the legal age of marriage to 18, specifying criteria for marriage and divorce, and making civil unions the 5th legally recognized civil status in the country. While this union is open to couples of all sexual orientations, it continues to be debated.
Hay vacíos legales que están ahorita en el aire, ¿no? Como el tema de
There are many legal loopholes, like the affiliation of a child of a same-sex couple that decides via artificial insemination or another method to procreate and have children. Today, those two mothers cannot be registered, or when two fathers pay for a surrogate mother, only one of the fathers can register. So it's legally up in the air if these couples split up, because the child will only be able to go with one of the parents.
Existen esos niños cuando estas parejas se separan, solo tiene manutención de una sola de las personas.
The Civil Code specifies that this union must be stable, monogamous, between two people of legal age, and is not considered as marriage, while furthering the rights of same-sex couples by annulling the prior requirement of their having to prove stability of 2 years to gain legal status. This condition is again considered in the courts for legal purposes.
We hope that society opens their hearts and minds and that they realize that for us to have access to marriage or adoption or have total recognition of families with same-sex parents will not generate chaos or the apocalypse. What we are doing is creating more just and equal societies. It is that simple, because a homosexual couple will not prevent a heterosexual couple from getting married and reproducing.
LGBTQ activists within the country maintain the hope that the recognition of same-sex unions in the Civil Code is a step toward achieving the full rights of marriage. Having been passed by the National Assembly, articles of the Civil Code are under revision by President Correa and the executive branch to be approved, altered, or rejected. Liz Sherpius, Del Sur, Ecuador.
Around the world now, the United States and Japan unveiled new rules for defense cooperation in a historic move that will give Japanese armed forces a more ambitious global role. It comes amid concerns over China's rising sway there. Under the revised guidelines, Japan could come to the aid of U.S. forces threatened by a third country. Now, as an example, Japan could also deploy minesweeper ships to missions in the Middle East.
Well, let me join.
Our treaty commitments to Japan's security remains ironclad and covers all territories under Japan's administration, including the Senkaku Islands.
European leaders have rejected Kiev's request that peacekeepers stabilize eastern Ukraine. There has been a surge in shelling near the strategic government-held city of Mariupol. EU leaders have, however, agreed to boost humanitarian support. They have also urged Ukraine's government to speed up reforms to clean up its politics and business in return for closer ties with the bloc. The leaders reminded Ukraine that the country does have a powerful enemy in Russia, but still has many friends.
That there is no better alternative. The reforms, the sacrifices, the turn towards Europe and the West are worth all of it. Let me assure you that Europe will stand by your side all the way and assist as much as we can.
Indonesian President Joko Widodo has brushed off concerns that the judicial process, which convicted 8 drug traffickers to death, was tainted. The Australian government has pleaded for a stay in the execution of Muyuran Sukumaran and Andrew Chan. They say that reports that their trial had been tainted by corruption need to be investigated. Now, the men could face the firing squad within days, along with others from Brazil, Nigeria, and the Philippines. One of the Australians on death row, Andrew Chan, just got married in prison on Monday.
Celebration inside the prison this afternoon with close family and friends. It's obviously a special occasion for them too. And yeah, look, it's tough times, but it's happy times at the same time. And we just hope that the President somewhere will find some compassion and mercy for these two young couples, and that they can carry on with their lives hopefully.
Just to ask the President again, I spent the last five hours watching young children playing with their parents, and I asked the President to not make orphans out of children, widows, and to please, there are family members just crying inside the prison as we count down the hours, to please step up and show mercy.
2 Al Jazeera journalists currently freed on bail are due back in an Egyptian court for a hearing on April 28th. Egyptian Bahir Mohammed and Canadian Egyptian Mohammed Fahmy, along with Australian Peter Grest, were sentenced last year to between 7 and 10 years in jail. It was for charges that included spreading lies to help a terrorist organization, a reference to the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood there. The journalists were detained in December 2013 and say they were only doing their jobs. What started off as a peaceful run in protest against a bid by a Central African nation's president to seek a controversial third term in office quickly turned violent. Unrest erupted in Burundi after the ruling CNDD-FDD party, which has been accused of intimidating opponents, designated President Pierre Nkurunziza as its candidate for the June 26 presidential election. Now, the president has been in power for 2 terms since 2005, and opposition figures and rights groups say his attempt to stay put is unconstitutional. Hundreds of people took part in a flash mob dance on Sunday to mark the start of the official 500-day countdown to the Paralympic Games on Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro. Despite rain, choreographer Deborah Kolker led the group as they performed a range of different traditional and modern dance styles such as hip-hop, samba, forró, and disco. The Paralympic Games are set to take place in Brazil in August 2016 with more than 4,000 Paralympians from more than 160 nations competing. And to close this evening, Peru held its 8th International Cajon Festival, which honors the Afro-Peruvian percussion instrument. Peruvian organizers said that they gathered 3,500 percussionists in downtown Lima, which would break the record for the largest cajon ensemble ever organized. This year's festival was dedicated to renowned Peruvian cajon musician Rafael Santa Cruz, who died in August of 2014. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great night.